Ashley, and if you're new here, I make content to help encourage Christian singles. So I just want to welcome you here and just thank you for stopping by. I'm sure you saw the thumbnail and you're like, oh, dating pains, how exciting. I I just truly want to be so real in these videos and share life updates as we go, so that way you guys kind of know what's going on, but also so that you guys can pray for me and just knowing that you are not alone if you are going through similar things or if you're going through similar pains. I just want you to know that you are not alone in that. And I wanted to share a little story. And I want to preface this with saying I am in no way trying to bash men or anything like that. I'm just sharing a story. So what happened to me, I'm not saying all men are like this. I'm just sharing a story. So if this video offends you or anything like that, you need to call this guy. So but anyways, I also wanted to say some men be wilding out. I don't know, you guys be crazy sometimes. I don't know, but I don't even know where to start, but I have been on some dating apps just trying to meet someone. I work a lot, so for me to be able to meet someone organically is very challenging. If you follow me on TikTok, I have started a series where I go to places and by myself in hopes to meet my future husband. So if you're not following me on TikTok, I do that content on there. I haven't been super diligent in that, but I'll admit it's very intimidating going places by yourself without friends, because I don't know, it's our culture is so much you do things with friends, and when you're by yourself it just seems kind of awkward, at least for me. So really pushing past my comfort zone on that. That was a whole side tangent, but back to the original storyline, the original plot. I was on this dating app, and I usually don't ever meet anyone on these apps. I just have faith that maybe someone will come along. But I matched with this guy, and he wasn't really the type of guy that I would naturally gravitate towards, but I have really been trying to give men who I'm not initially attracted to a shot, because I think yes, you should be attracted to someone, but just because you're not over the moon attracted to them, still giving them a shot. So I wasn't initially attracted to this guy, but I liked the stuff that he had to say. So I was like, okay, I'll reach out to him. And so when I reached out to him, we talked on the app for a little while, and then I was like, would you like to talk outside? And he's like, okay. And another side tangent, there's going to be a lot of side tangents here. If you are online dating, the goal is to meet this person in person. I don't think it's wise to stay on a dating app for longer than a week. I think that's just a waste of everyone's time. It's me personally. If you feel comfortable doing it differently, I'm not saying meet them in person in a week, but talk to them and do video chats or something. I have a whole nother video on dating apps, but all that to say, I was like, okay, let's get this rolling. And so I was asking him, where do you go to church? And he kind of kept dodging that question. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe he's just not really comfortable, because we're strangers, saying, well, where do you go to church? People are crazy. They all have stalkers or whatever. So I was not really pushing that issue. But as we got to talking, uh, come to find out, he didn't actually live in the same state as me. He had applied for a job in the same state, like the same, like close to where I lived. And he had set up his like direction for dating, like in the area of where he was planning to move, which I see why people do that, but at the same time I'm like, that's kind of a dirty dog move. Like I don't think you should like string someone along in the probability of maybe you might do this thing. But anyways, I'm not here to judge if you're doing that. So if you're doing that, I'm not judging you. I I was like a little bit taken back by that, like I feel like that should have been something said straight out the gate. But I was like, okay, like he just didn't want to lose communication with me if he told me that up front. So I kind of let that go, even though it did bother me. And then finding out he was a new believer, I think he said that he started following God like in 2020. So, a relatively new believer, but still having been a believer for a while. And so I asked him like where he was going to church where he lived, and he kind of like said that he had been going to this church. He made it sound like that was his home church, but having talked to him, like in communicating with him, come to find out he wasn't going to church. And so then that was just like another thing for me where I was like, okay, this guy, he was not really being upfront with what he's saying and kind of has excuses as to why he's not going to church. And so I kind of challenged him in that. I also challenged him with cursing, like he cursed a lot. And so that was another thing for me that I was like, okay, like I understand that you are a new believer, but for us as believers, like we're battling against something, but that doesn't mean that we're not trying to overcome it. And so he didn't really see a problem with it, which also bothered me. So there's like all these things. But I was still trying to be optimistic. I wasn't trying to like judge him on those things. I was just kind of, questioning them. And so at this point, I think we had been talking for like a week. So he's in a completely across the country, and he tells me that he may not go after this job that he said like he was sure that he was going to do, because now he had this other job offer. So now that's up in the air. And so at that point, I was like, okay, I'm just going to check out. Like I'm done trying to like appease this person, not like appease, but just like meet them where they're at. Like I'm feeling like I'm trying too hard to make this work when it's obviously like not a good fit. But I talked to my mom about it, and she's like, well, why don't you just like continue to try to work on it? Like you don't know exactly where he's going to move. And so I was like, okay. So I was like, okay, I'm going to continue to try to make this work. It wasn't a relationship. We're just in a talking phase. Like we didn't go on any dates, nothing, strictly a talking phase. So he ended up telling me that he just didn't like see us fitting together because of my standards and what I was looking for, and that he didn't see himself being able to do those things, which was something that I made like very clear up front, which is where I get the wiling out part. You're like, why does she say men are wiling out? This is why. At the start of talking to him, like I made it very clear that if this wasn't the lifestyle that he wanted, that I would be okay, and that I'd rather him like tell me now. But he was like, no, no, no. Like I really want this lifestyle. I want to follow after God. But I don't think he had ever had anyone challenge him to follow after God. I don't think he had he had never dated a Christian before. And for me, like, to hear him say that after he had already said that that was what he wanted really hurt my feelings, because I was like, well, why would you lead someone on? Why would you say that you wanted this when you didn't? But that has been the story of my dating history. It has been men saying that they want to follow after God, but when it comes to actually doing that and actually leading spiritually, they just say, like, this isn't for me. And it's really hard in dating. It's really hard. I was watching this TikTok of this girl, and she was just sharing how it's really hard online dating because she will tell men up front like what her standards are and that she doesn't have sex before marriage, and then they like instantly stop talking to her. So then after that she's like, well, maybe that's like too soon to tell someone. So then she decided, well, maybe I'll wait like a week before I have that conversation with someone. And then she did just that. She started just talking to this guy, and things were going really well. But then when she told him, I actually don't have sex before marriage, he was like, yeah, I don't think this is for me. And these are Christian men. These aren't men who are just non-believers. These are men who say they follow Jesus. And I resonated so much with what she had to say. And the comment section on her video was really I hate this word triggering, but it truly was triggering for me, because so many people in the comments were like, well, if you can't be honest with him up front, like, that's not the man for you. And a lot of it was married people like telling her what she should be doing. And I just, like, that like hurt me for her, because so many of the married people who give singles advice aren't people who waited. They're not people who waited to have sex before marriage. They don't understand the rejection there. They don't understand the pain and the loneliness of waiting. And so for them to judge someone who's waiting in that is just like so wrong, in my opinion. Like, I actually wanted to stitch her video with the comments, so I might still do that. But like, that's a whole nother side tangent. But my thumbnail was dating pains, right? These are the dating pains of being a Christian single. These are the dating pains of waiting, and the isolation and the pain. And you have all of these standards set for yourself in dating, and you think, okay, like, I've waited, I make it very clear on my dating profile, I make it very clear to this person what my standards are, but it's still like they want to put up a front of who they truly are. And that really bothers me, that that is happening to women, and I'm sure it's happening to men too. This is a female's perspective, what I'm going through. I'm not saying that men are not experiencing the same thing. This is just my experience. So, but it's just so discouraging. It's so discouraging. After this whole thing with this guy, I was just like, God, I am so done with dating. Like, I so sick of being lied to. I'm so sick of being told what a man wants to do for me and how he wants to step up and be a spiritual leader. And then a couple weeks, couple months in, him saying like, no, like, that isn't for me. It's like, how do people live with themselves lying so much? Like, I don't understand it. I don't understand. Like, my heart cannot take this anymore. And this whole dating scene is so depressing. It's so hurtful. It's so painful. And I was just telling God, like, I am so at the end of my rope. I don't know how much more of this lies and disappointment and not being appreciated for the ground that I hold as a Christian woman, and not having someone appreciate that, not having someone appreciate that they have a woman who loves Jesus and who wants to honor God in dating. And as I was sitting in that frustration and just like the pain of it, I I I didn't really get anything from God except that you are not alone in this frustration. You're not alone in this pain. There's other women who are experiencing the same disappointment. There's other women who are experiencing the same pain. They're experiencing being lied to and not being appreciated. And I just think like with dating, there's so many like assumptions when you're waiting that people have of you. I remember um I post a lot on my Instagram just encouragement for Christian singles because I don't think there's enough encouragement out there for you. I don't think the church as a whole does a very good job encouraging Christian singles and giving them like a safe place to share their emotions or really have community. And so I was posting about it, and this guy, I had a couple guys comment, but one of the guys commented, like, I'm so sick of you posting stuff about singles. Like, you don't give guys a chance to date you. And I was thinking to myself, I'm not I'm single for a purpose. I'm not complaining about singleness in a sense of, oh, I wish someone would just ask me out. I am waiting for a man who loves God. There's a big difference. I'm not saying like I want to date Saturday night just to have a date. Like I could have that. I am waiting for a man who loves God. I'm waiting for a man who is going to lead spiritually, who has the backbone and authority to stand for Christ. And I am not going to compromise that. And so for someone to come in and say that, it's like, you don't understand what I'm standing for. And you don't understand that I'm not desperate. I'm not sitting in my singleness in desperation. I'm sitting in my singleness in authority of Christ. And that's what I want women to really be encouraged by. You are not single out of desperation. You're single because you are not compromising. You're single because there is a man of God that you're waiting for and that you're praying for. And another thing that someone commented was that I do not, what was it that they said? They said that if I would pursue a man, like I would understand how hard it is in dating. And I kind of chuckled to myself about this comment because he has no idea my history. And if he had any idea my history, I have actually approached more men like out in public than men have approached me. And so for him to say that, he was making this huge assumption that I don't pursue, which I have. I have tried and I've been rejected. And so to say that an assumption of what I am was just another thing where I feel like men put this on Christian women. They have these assumptions about them because they're single. And I just want to encourage you, if you've had a lot of people putting assumptions on you, not to let that dissuade you in your stance of purity, and not to let that dissuade you in your stance of waiting. And my experience this past week of just dealing with this man was like, wow, God, like there's so much discouragement in dating. There's so much hurt in dating. And how do we as women make it past that? Like, how do we make it past the pain? How do we make it past the hurts? How do we make it past to believe that there's still good men out there, that there's still men who love Jesus, and there's still men who care? And I really don't have a really good answer besides the fact that we need to continue praying and hoping. I think the biggest thing, like after this, was like I didn't want to try anymore. I didn't want to put myself out there anymore. I didn't want to experience like answering the questions of, oh, well, what happened to the guy you were talking to? You know, I thought he was a Christian. I hate it when people ask me that, because it's like, yeah, I thought he was a Christian too. Like, I thought he was a good guy too. That's what he said. You know, it's like you can't trust people at their word anymore. You can't trust people of what they say, which makes it so hard. It's like, okay, well, now I can't trust people at their word, so now I have to watch them. Now I have to see, okay, well, do they have Christian friends? Are they committed to church, you know? And it's like you have to watch these men to make sure they are who they say that they are. And it's sad, it's unfortunate that we can't trust someone at their word, but we have to be wise. We have to be prayerfully considering when we're dating someone or when we're entertaining someone as a dating potential. I think the temptation is not to invite people in, you know, not to tell people that you're dating someone or talking to someone. And like that also makes me sad, because then it's like I want community. I want people to know, like, if I'm talking to someone, to be praying about it. And that was another frustration I had. Dating pains, right? That was another frustration I had. I was like, God, like, because I had told my mom about this guy. And it's like, man, like now I have to tell her he wasn't who he said he was. And that just sucks. It sucks because it's like, when do you meet someone who is who they say that they are? And I haven't had that, you know, I haven't had that experience. And I just am making this video to help you with your struggle. Like if you're struggling this, and like I said at the start of the video, I'm not trying to bash men. Like if you're a guy watching this, like I understand guys have frustrations. They have things that have happened to them. I'm just really saying it from my perspective and what has happened to me. And so if you're a guy watching this, I want you to know, like, there's no guy hate here. It's just, I encourage you, if you're a man watching this, please strive to be a man of your word. Please strive to be who you say that you are. If you're wanting to be a man of God, discipline yourself in that, so that when you do find a woman who loves Jesus, that you can be that man who leads her. And obviously, no one's perfect. I'm not saying you have to be this perfect person, but I am saying to strive to be that. Don't just be and this goes for guys or girls, don't just be a Christian who says you're a Christian. Like, if you are a follower of Christ, that needs to be your identity. Your identity is a Christian, and that means that the things of this world you are putting beside. You're not following the things that the world is doing. On Sundays, you're prioritizing time with God. You're prioritizing your church family, because that is what the Bible says we need to be prioritizing. And you're prioritizing time with God and the word of the Lord throughout the week, because that's what a Christian does. You're memorizing scripture, you're fasting. You know, there's things that the Christian does that are not of this world, and that's what sets you apart. And so as you're considering, like, am I a man of God? Am I a woman of God? The beauty about this video is, if you're feeling convicted, like, man, like maybe I'm not who I say that I am, repent and turn to God. Repent of the things that are calling you or pulling you away from God, and truly be who you say that you are. And if you're a woman watching this and you can really, like, resonate with my story, and maybe you have your own painful dating story of deception, and I'm not trying to laugh about it, but it's just so discouraging. I want you to know that you are not alone in that discouragement, that you're not alone in that embarrassment, and just trying to pick yourself back up off the floor of, wow, like I got lied to again. Like, wow, I got disappointed again. I just want you to know you are not alone in that. And I just want us to rally together to believe and pray that there is a man out there who is going to be who he says he is, that there has to be, because God created you. There has to be, because God created me. There has to be a man who is going to lead that, because he did not create us just to not have someone be there to lead us. And with that desire to be a wife, if you don't have a desire to be a wife, obviously, that's different for you. But if you have a desire to be a wife, then I would just want to encourage you to continue praying, and don't allow the dating pains to stop you from asking people to come into your relationships, or asking people to pray for you. You know, don't let the pains of life harden you towards community, and don't let the pains of life harden you towards dating. I think that's my biggest takeaway for this, and my biggest encouragement to you is keep praying, remain steadfast. You're not alone in this. And I just pray, like, if this video like hurt some feelings, that's not my intention. I wasn't trying to hurt anyone's feelings. I was just sharing my story. So I just thank you for watching, and I just hope like this video encouraged you to just keep trekking on, and don't let bad dating experiences or hurtful dating experiences stop you from praying and believing that God still has someone for you. So just thank you for watching, and I pray that your day is blessed. Bye.